made it in the school and in the classes for years. It's something that I had in Paris at one time. And I came home and I had this wonderful recipe developer help me develop the recipe so that we could use it in the classes. What it is it's called salmon with cream spinach Provençal. It's a bed of cream spinach and a piece of salmon and a little like Provençal type sauce. It's tomatoes with garlic and olive oil on top. We're going to make it, and there's different ways you can bake it. We're going to bake these today in these little individual gratin dishes, and these are great if you can pick some of these up. They're really wonderful for it. You can also do it in a 13 by 9 dish. This recipe will make enough for 6 people, so you can put it in a 13 by 9 dish and arrange it. It's nice if you can arrange it in something that looks nice on the table. So that's something to look for. If you're making for 4, you could just put it in a square dish. So you can kind of mix and match how you're going to serve it depending on how many people you're serving at a time. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to show you. I have my mise en place ready, which if you've been listening at all, you'll have your mise en place ready before you start anything. We've got everything out that we're going to be needing. What we're going to do over here, I'll just show you what I have. We've got a big pot for our spinach, so we're gonna saute the spinach. I am using fresh spinach. It's a little bit more work, but it's you can buy it in the bags already washed if you want. But this is just a little bit more work, and it's worth it. I think that everything that you do yourself, it just makes everything taste better. I don't know if that's true or not. I think it does. So I washed this. I'm going to cook this in just the water that's clinging to the leaves. If you buy it in a bag already washed and there's no water on it, you might want to put a little splash of water in with it. So we're going to cook this in this pot. And then in the meantime, we're going to make a sauce. It's a bechamel sauce. It's going to be with milk and butter. And today, instead of using flour, because we have a gluten-free person present, we're going to use some cornstarch to thicken it. So that you work with that a little bit differently. So I'll show you how to do that. We're going to have some salt and pepper and nutmeg. Okay, so that'll be our cream spinach. That'll be the cream part of our cream spinach. Then we'll chop the spinach and add it to the cream sauce. All right, and I'm going to get started. So here's the spinach. Turn this light on. Okay. See, it's nice spinach, nice and fresh. You can kind of stuff it into your dish a little bit. I washed this 3 times to make sure there was no sand in it. You want to make sure that you don't have any. I'm just going to put a drop of this water in here to kind of start it. And then we're going to put the lid on it. Now the lid will go down. This just shrinks down to nothing. It looks like a ton of spinach, but if you've ever cooked spinach, you know that it just looks like so much, and then all of a sudden you're done and there's just a tiny bit. I'm going to turn it on the heat and I'm going to melt the butter. Now typically, once that butter melts, you'll stir in your flour, but cornstarch does like to have a little cold liquid. It doesn't dissolve as well in hot liquid. I'm just going to use a little bit of the milk, and I'm just going to get a little spoon and stir that together until that's smooth, and that's what I'm going to be adding to the melted butter. We'll just cook that slightly, and then we'll add the rest of the milk. Now, I know that I'm going to peel my tomatoes later, so I'm just going to turn on that back burner and get my boiling water. I have a pot of boiling water, and that's going to be to peel my tomatoes, so I have that on. I've also preheated my oven. 277 now, it should be 400 by the time we need it. So here we've got this. The butter is melted. I'm just going to give this a quick stir again. Pour that in. See, I still have a couple of lumps in there I'm going to mash out. And then we're going to add the milk. And then I'm going to grab a whisk. When you use cornstarch to thicken something, if you're going to reheat it later, you have to be careful and use very gentle heat because sometimes the cornstarch will break, so it won't stay as thick. Flour, on the other hand, will stay thickened. So we've got this like a medium-high heat. As long as you're going to stay with it, you can keep it medium-high heat. We're also going to add to this, I have, I've got to do one more thing over here. I have some salt, some pepper, and some ground cloves. I'm going to add that. And I'm also going to add some fresh nutmeg, but I wanted to show you how to grate your fresh nutmeg. You want to always try to use fresh nutmeg because it has such a great flavor. If you can compare fresh to the stuff that's in the jar, it's totally different. So if you can use this as a whole nutmeg. And all you need to do is, this is the cheese grater that I use, or the zester, and just grate it like this. You don't need a whole lot. We're going to do about a half or about a quarter of a teaspoon, I think it is. Nutmeg and spinach is always a good combination. I just did it on this paper towel, so I can just move it right over here. See, already it's gone down quite a bit. Stir it around a little bit. Just a few more minutes, 5 more minutes or so. And we'll go back to this. A lot of this can be prepared ahead of time. You can do your cream spinach ahead of time and then nestle your salmon in and pop them all in the refrigerator and just put them in the oven. The baking time will be a little longer if you start with the cold spinach, but otherwise it's just pretty much the same. The sauce you serve after it's cooked, so not before. We're going to use 2 of these plum tomatoes. You can use any kind of tomatoes. If it's tomato season and they're really nice and ripe, do that. If you can't find any nice red plum tomatoes, you could even use cherry tomatoes. And if you did that, you would skip this stuff that I'm doing here. We're going to cut. We're going to peel them. If you're going to can tomatoes, this is what you would do. This is the same way you peel peaches as well. So I'm going to put a little X in that end, and then we're going to drop them into boiling water just for like 15 seconds, and then we're going to put them in some ice water to shock them, and then we'll take them out and we'll peel them and seed them and dice them. I'll show you how to do that. Then we're also going to take a clove of garlic, and I'm going to take this calls for a small clove, so I actually did that. You don't need a lot of garlic in this. Got your clove, and then we're just going to chop this up. And then I'm going to show you a little trick when you want to really incorporate the garlic into the sauce. Take your garlic and mince it up. And then you're going to take a little bit of salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon, 1/8 of a teaspoon, a little salt, and we're going to just take the side of your knife, and the salt is going to act kind of like sandpaper, and you're going to be able to make like a little paste. This is great if you want to put it into a salad dressing. That's the way the person will get a whole big bite of garlic. There's our garlic already. Okay, so the sauce is done. Spinach might be almost done. Looks like it. Looks great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain off this spinach and into a bowl. I'm going to take a strainer. You can use a strainer or a colander. I'm going to try to get as much liquid out of it as you can. this point, so we're going to just really press it out so we can drain it. See, you're going to get a lot of moisture out of this. This is the rough part. Now, if you really want to cheat, you can do this whole recipe cheating, the whole thing cheating. You can buy cream spinach. It's the weeknight version. Buy cream spinach, and you can buy a little jar of bruschetta and use that for your sauce. And so you have a lot of stuff already done for you. So you can use cream spinach on the base, and then put your salmon in there, and that would be like a 10-minute meal. Okay. So that would be a good one. You could also, to do a half shortcut, you could buy frozen chopped spinach, thaw it, press it out, and proceed with that as well. It's like this endless amount of water coming out of here. So now we're just going to chop it a little bit. You could probably not chop this if you wanted. It would make it a little bit easier to eat if it's chopped. So I'm just using this in case it drips. Okay, now we're going to take it over to the sauce. Now our sauce is all ready. Looks beautiful. And I'm just going to give these dishes a little butter. You can use a little olive oil on the bottom if you want, or nothing, whatever you like. I just kind of think I'll just oil them a little bit, or butter them a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is bring this spinach over here. Grab a big spoon. Now this should be enough for 6. Like I said, I'm just going to put 2 together today. So you can put more or less, however you like. This is a great, really a nice thing to make for a large group. Maybe that's a little too much spinach. A large group, because if you make it like in a big, like I said, like a 13 by 9 pan, everything's all in one dish, and maybe you serve some rice or potatoes or whatever you like on the side. Now when you get your salmon, I got this at Cross Island, when you get your salmon, make sure that you ask them to take the skin off, because I forgot and I had to take it off myself. It's not impossible, but it's not fun, so you might want to make sure you do that. What we're going to do with these pieces is we're going to put a little salt and pepper on them. I'm just going to use a spoon for the salt because I just have fish all over my hands. Salt, pepper, and then we're going to put a little olive oil on them. And then you'll just take them and nestle them right in here. Now, when we have this longer end to it, if you double it under, then it'll cook more evenly. Anytime you're making fish and you have the thin ends, like a flounder or something like that, it has a thin end, just kind of double it under, and then you make the same thickness. So when it's cooking, it kind of cooks evenly. You just nestle it in like that. This is great. And there they are. They're ready to pop in the oven. I have my rack up higher because I was cooking things down low that were high, low that were high. But I want this in the middle. So, when you preheat your oven, if you really think ahead, which I never seem to do, you should check your racks and make sure your racks are where you want them. So we've got our salmon. We're going to put that in, kind of in the middle so it gets good circulation. And then we're going to set the timer for about, it says 18 minutes. I'm going to set them for 16. I got 15. Let me set it for 15 and we'll look. Because I like my salmon a little bit mushy. Okay, so we'll see. And then while we're doing that, look what we've got ready over here is our boiling water. Let's bring it up where we can reach it. Okay, so we've got our boiling water. And we're going to take these tomatoes. And I have a bowl of ice water here. So we're going to drop these tomatoes. If you're doing a whole lot of tomatoes, only do like 2 or 3, or maybe 3 at a time. If you do too many at a time, you lose your boil and it doesn't do as good a job. What you're going to be looking for is just for that X that you cut in the bottom to split just a little bit. You look for tomatoes as ripe as you can. This is not perfect tomato season, but when it is, it usually only takes about 15 seconds to have this happen. I can start to see them splitting. You can also feel a little bit that they're just about to. And this one's ready. Okay, that one's ready. This one seems to be a little, might have been a little bit more firm. Yeah, this one's ready too. We'll put them in the water. Now the purpose of the ice water is just to stop the cooking. You don't want to let them sit in here a long time, so this is where we're going to go right away to cut them. So I'm going to take the tomato out. Oh, you can see it happens right away. The skin comes right off. See, that's what you want. If you do it too long, it's kind of stew your tomato in the skin, so you don't want to do that. We're going to take our knife, and what you're going to do is take your thumb right up. Your thumb is like the pivot point here, and you kind of angle your knife to take the stem end out. Okay. Now what we're going to do, you're going to cut it in half with the equator. So if you think of your tomato like this is the North Pole and the South Pole, we're going with the equator. Okay, so we're going to cut it like this. And we're going to get a little garbage bowl now. We're just going to squeeze it. We're going to take out the seeds. Squeeze it and take out the seeds. Okay, this is what I like to do with this too. Squish it down just a little bit, and now you can use either knife you want. You're going to cut it into like about a 1/4 inch dice. You squish it a little bit. It just makes cutting easier. This is the same way if you're making bruschetta. It's nice to do this. You don't always have, even in this, if you didn't want to peel your tomato. You could get away with not doing it; just have the skin in it. That's all. It's not a big deal. So you could do it without peeling it. But what I think is that these when you peel it, it lets the meat of the tomato really absorb the flavor of the garlic, and we're going to put some olive oil in it too. So I don't like this one's kind of yellow. But we can add a little pepper, a little olive oil. And there your sauce is ready. So this doesn't take too long. You can usually do this while your salmon is cooking. We are back with our salmon. It was the 15 minutes that just rang. So I am going to look at it and I'm going to show you if I think it's done. What you can do is just take your finger. Oh yeah, it's definitely done. You can tell by how firm it is. Okay, I like mine a little bit mushy, so I might pass it a little bit. If there's more or less in the oven at a time, if you have it in a big pan, if you're going to do it in a like a big like I said, like a 13 by 9 pan, make sure you don't put the pieces of fish against each other, because then it's going to take longer. So make sure you leave some space between each piece of fish. So you're just going to kind of spoon it over each piece. And there you have it, salmon and spinach Provençal. Bon appetit.